Today's questioner asks, how do you know if you're burnt out? Over the years, I've learned a lot about burnout, having experienced it firsthand. I talked about what burnout looked like for me earlier this week, and I'll link to that episode of solicited advice in the show notes below. And stay tuned for the next episode, which will cover techniques to prevent and recover from burnout. Ready? Here are 7 signs you're suffering from burnout. Number 1, you feel empty or hollow. Have you ever left a decorative gourd out and discovered it dried out instead of rotting? From the outside, it looks okay, paler than before, but still maintains its shape. But when you hold it, instead of a solid presence, it's light and empty. When you shake it, you can hear the dried seeds rattling around on the inside. If you feel like that dried out gourd, pretty normal looking on the outside, but hollow and empty on the inside, that's a good indicator you're suffering from burnout. Number 2, you're exhausted, physically, mentally, and emotionally. There are some days when I feel like I just can't get it together. My body feels heavy, like I'm moving through molasses. My brain feels foggy and I can't do simple things like retrieve somebody's name or remember the steps to a process I've done dozens of times before. And my emotions, they've been zapped out of me. The Folgers commercials don't make me cry, but I don't feel excitement or joy over anything either. Those are always early warning signs I'm headed toward burnout. Number 3, it feels like you have very little control over your emotions. Have you ever had a day when everything makes you cry? Or you're short-tempered with a fuse a fraction of what it normally is? And then a day or 2 later you get your period and it all makes sense? What about having those feelings but realizing they're not tied to hormonal shifts? That's another good sign that you're burnt out. Number 4, decisions are impossibly hard to make, even the little ones. When you find yourself asking the waiter to come back for the 3rd time because you can't decide if you want your eggs scrambled or over easy, or you struggle to respond to an email because you aren't sure how to sign off, you're probably burnt out. Often you might think about or describe this as feeling like everything is just too much. Number 5, you can't see the forest for the trees. It's a sign of burnout when you become fixated on one thing that you believe will make everything better. A few examples are believing that if you just start going to bed at 10 p.m., then all your problems will be solved. Or if you could only get to inbox 0, you wouldn't be overwhelmed anymore. While these trees might help you move closer to balance, often they're decoys you use to ignore the bigger problem of burnout. Number 6, your friends and family note you seem a little off. They may also ask if you're sick or just getting over an illness. They may even let you know they're worried about you. Often when you're burnt out, you're so busy just trying to get through each day, you don't have the time to reflect back on how you're doing, and the people around you become a mirror to reflect what you can't see. Number 7, you find yourself saying, I'm just a little more stressed than normal. You might replace stressed with overwhelmed, busy, emotional, exhausted, or any number of other similar words. You know this is burnout and not a response to a temporary situation when you take a little time to think about it and realize you have no idea how to get back to normal. And you can't remember the last time you actually felt normal. When you realize that normal is actually an idealized state and not a state of being you've been in recently. It's a good sign that you're burnt out. I want to take a moment to note that burnout and depression often manifest with similar symptoms. If you don't feel a little better after a vacation or a really restful long weekend, chances are you're struggling with depression and not burnout. If you suspect you're struggling with depression, please seek out help from your doctor or a mental health professional. You don't have to feel like this. Check the show notes for more information on these 7 signs of burnout. But identifying that you're burnt out is just the first step. As I noted in the first video in this series, changing the world around you won't change your burnout. You need to change yourself in order to recover from and prevent future burnout. I'd love to help support you in developing the tools and techniques you need to recover from and prevent future burnout, either through my private coaching program or the NNB Formula group coaching program. Links to learn more about both are in the show notes below. I am sending you a great big hug. You've got this.